Hi, Taurus, and welcome to your April 2024 horoscope. April is an exciting month, and I'm saying that because there's a lot happening in April. We have a solar eclipse, which is exciting. We also have Mars conjunct Saturn, which can feel a little bit like our actions are being put to a halt. And of course, we cannot forget about Jupiter conjunct Uranus. So there's a lot happening. Let's get into breaking down the day by day so you can be more up to date on what you can expect. On April 3rd, we have Venus conjunct Neptune in your 11th house. This is such a beautiful day for you, Taurus, and it might feel like there's especially this dreamy and lovey energy with your community and with your group of friends. Honestly, if you can plan like a friend's date on this day, that would probably feel really amazing. You might find it especially easy to be compassionate and loving towards your friends and your community. One word of caution would be that if you have anybody in your group of friends that you sometimes feel like are taking advantage of you, then on this day, it might be a good idea to take some distance from them, especially because the Venus and Neptune conjunction might make it really difficult for you to set your boundaries, and it might make it a little bit easier to be taken advantage of. On April 5th, we have Venus entering Aries or your 12th house. With Venus entering your 12th house, you might feel like you really need and value your alone time. So during April, you might especially want to make sure you carve out frequent alone time. And alone time that you use, not just to, scroll on social media, although we all love to do that, but alone time where you really allow yourself to reflect on your day, on how you show up in the world, on your values, on all of the things going on inside you so that you can understand yourself better. Because Aries is in your 12th house, it's the sign in your 12th house. Be really gentle with yourself, Taurus. Don't be super competitive with yourself or really harsh with yourself. That can perhaps sometimes be a tendency that you have. On April 8th, there's a solar eclipse in your 12th house. So this solar eclipse is a new moon, which means that both the sun and the moon are in your 12th house. This eclipse is happening in the decan of Aries, which is ruled by the sun. So it's almost as if the actions and decisions we're taking during this eclipse are ruled by the ego more than actions or decisions that feel genuine or aligned with our true self. I usually don't talk about Mercury in these forecasts. I think its effects can be quite minimal on most of us, but during this eclipse, keep in mind that Mercury is retrograde. So especially, if we're communicating from our ego and Mercury is retrograde, to me, this symbolizes we say something coming from our ego, but others misunderstand it, misinterpret it, take it the wrong way. So there could be a chance for miscommunication. And for you, Taurus, again, this is happening in your 12th house. So I really encourage you during this eclipse to make sure you carve time to be able to reflect on what's happening and to be able to take inventory of what's happening internally. And to acknowledge that sometimes you also have less pleasant feelings, that sometimes you also feel angry and upset and frustrated. On April 10th, Mars is conjunct Saturn in your 11th house. So it's both benefics coming together. So it can feel like quite an intense day. But it's really interesting to have these two planets come together because Mars is the planet of action. Let's go, let's do things. And Saturn is the action that says, slow down, be patient, just put in a little bit of work every day for a long period of time. So when they come together, it's almost as if Saturn is asking Mars to slow down. And because this is happening in your 11th house, there might be some actions, some cool ideas you want to pursue with your friends. Maybe you want to go on holiday together or something like that. But Saturn is maybe putting a halt to it, asking you to reconsider, asking you to slow down, asking you if this is really the action that you want to take. On April 17th, Venus is conjunct the North Node in your 12th house. So Venus was in your 12th house during the eclipse when the Sun and the Moon are conjunct the North Node. Slowly after the eclipse, Venus has been moving closer and closer to the nodes. And finally, on the 17th, it conjuncts them. I almost see this day as this opportunity to revisit what happened during the solar eclipse with the intensity turned down. So if you felt like the eclipse was quite strong, that maybe you didn't get a chance to reflect and to adjust course, then on the 17th, you might find that some of those ideas and themes are coming back up again. And this time it might feel less emotionally intense so that you can actually take the time, sit down and really process what the eclipse was trying to teach you. On the 20th of April, we finally have one of the biggest events in April, which is Jupiter conjunct Uranus. This is happening in your first house. And there are actually a couple of other things happening during the same time as this conjunction. And here they are. The Sun also enters Taurus during this conjunction. And Mars sextiles both Jupiter and Uranus while they are conjunct. So we definitely also have a little bit of that Martian energy, and the Sun entering Taurus really amplifies the Taurian energy as well. Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct once every 14 years, so this is a big event. If you want to understand Jupiter and Uranus conjunctions a little bit better, it could be a good idea to reflect back to 14 years ago and see if there was anything important and meaningful that happened in your life. So Jupiter has been traveling through your first house for a year now, so you might have felt especially understood and appreciated by others, and like this ability that you are recognized for who you are and for your true identity. At the same time, you've had Uranus in your first house for much longer than Jupiter. So you might have, because of that, you might have been experiencing some ups and downs when it comes to your identity and how you express yourself. I can almost imagine this as you really questioning, like, okay, is this who I am? Is this not who I am? Am I a person that's an optimist or am I a person that's a pessimist? What do I believe in? Do I like wearing like colorful clothes or more toned down clothes? So all of the things that we sort of attach as our identity could have experienced a lot of ups and downs. One day you think you're identifying in one way, and then the next day it's another thing. And the way I see this Mars and Uranus conjunction is almost as if they're coming together and they're having a conversation and sharing their experiences with each other on identity. So it's almost as if you are reflecting on, okay, I've had the highest of highs when it comes to my identity, and I've had the lowest of lows. What did I learn in that process about my identity, about who I am? I almost see this as this idea of, like, actually identity is quite important, or it could also be this idea of, I've actually realized that identity is not very important. I know who I am truly on the inside, and the way I show up and represent myself really doesn't matter to me that much. So there could be a sort of realization and coming together of what you've been learning about yourself. Just a day later, the Sun inches a degree closer into Aries, and as it does that, it squares Pluto in your 10th house. So Pluto entered your 10th house the beginning of last year. And if you're curious to explore a little bit more of what that means for you, I'll leave the video right here so that you can go ahead and explore it in more details. However, in short, Pluto in your 10th house is asking you for the next 20 years to step into your power and your leadership in your career. And now that the sun is squaring Pluto, it's almost as if there are things happening in your career that are challenging your identity and how you show up. And they're really asking you to consider your identity one more time and to consider if it really is in line and if it's an identity that's going to help you and support you in becoming a leader in your workspace. On the 24th of April, there's a full moon in Scorpio in your 7th house. So the moon is in Scorpio, the sun is in Taurus in your 1st house. And a full moon can bring some insights because it's literally as if, the sun is shining a light on the moon and revealing something that could have been hidden before. And for you specifically, Taurus, it could be that there are some news coming from your partners that are asking you to stop pretending that everything is always peachy and rosy, that sometimes there are disagreements or, not so nice parts about life that we do need to address. They are a part of being a human on this earth, and we cannot continue ignoring them forever. On the 28th of April, Mars has finally reached Neptune, and they are conjunct in your 11th house. So remember, at the beginning of the month, Mars conjuncted Saturn. Now it's sort of moved later and later in your 11th house, and now it's conjuncting Neptune. You might have some really lofty and beautiful ideas about how you can connect better with your friends and with your community of people, a community that you work with towards a common goal. These are almost the types of ideas that allow you to connect in a meaningful way, a way to be compassionate towards others and really help them when they need a helping hand, giving of yourself selflessly for the benefit of others in your community. We close off the month on April 30th with both Venus and Mars returning to the signs where they feel home at. So Mars is entering Aries and Venus is entering Taurus. And having them return to the places where they feel at home might feel like a sigh of relief. After all of the things happening in April, it's almost as if it feels like, whew, okay, everything's finally the right way up. Things are sort of just flowing a lot more easily. You're finding it perhaps easier to express your emotions. Your anger can be expressed easily, and your loving nature a little bit more easily as well. So overall, Taurus, there is quite a lot of action for you in your 11th and 12th house this month. So again, I encourage you to take time to be alone and reflect on everything that's going on, pick up any practices that help support you, and to also reach out to your friends or your community, get together with them, and really see if you can help others in a meaningful and compassionate way. If you want to make sure that you catch the May horoscope as well, Taurus, make sure you subscribe. I hope you enjoy April. Let me know down in the comments if there's a specific transit that you're excited about. And I hope to see you again soon.